Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. The last few days I've been talking about the niyamas, or yogic ethical principles that are used to guide the way we interact with ourselves. And I've been reading some from Tommy Rosen's Recovery 2.0 about how he uses these principles to expand on the spiritual foundation that he found in the 12 steps. Today, I'm going to talk about the niyama of svadyaya. And svadyaya means self-study and also refers to the study of spiritual texts. All spiritual paths require self-reflection and the study of what is actually taking place within. How will you manage your mind, thoughts, and emotions? How shall you conduct yourself to reach a deeper, clearer understanding of your purpose in this world? What are your beliefs? Why do you have them? What is your relationship with the seen and unseen parts of life? Svadyaya is a central component of the 12-step path. So that's his introduction to this one. And I feel like when I first read this, it made me think about all the work that I did during my study of the Big Book of AA and working the 12 steps with a sponsor. Because I do feel like AA's Big Book is a spiritual text, and but I would also argue that this is a spiritual text. You know, a spiritual text is, to me, is anything that helps me connect more or explore more the spiritual side of life. And so when I read this, I thought this definitely rings true for my recovery, because studying spiritual texts and continuing to ask questions and explore the spiritual side of life has been a really important part of my recovery. That wasn't an important part of my life in my addiction. I was quick to make decisions about the way I felt the world worked, and then didn't ask many questions about them. And I made these decisions early in my adult life and then stuck by them. And I didn't leave myself open to the idea that I was wrong either, which closed me off to a lot of experience and a lot of potential knowledge that I might have gained had I been more open-minded. So I think that's a big part of svadyaya as well, is remaining open-minded and allowing all possibilities to be part of our exploration. Another thing that he says that I want to read about here is that we only need to be open to looking at or studying what life throws our way and be in the questioning of it all. This is enough to move forward. And so with this, I have to be open when anything comes my way in life. I have to be open to question, well, why is this here? What's the purpose of this particular thing happening? And I have to look at the perspective that I bring to the situation. And he expands on that later on when he says, we are living in a participatory universe. Our beliefs, thoughts, words, and actions affect the way reality unfolds before us. We have that kind of power. It is best that we learn to use it to create rather than destroy. And this can be found in all sorts of examples throughout life, but even in very, very simple examples, when I wake up in the morning, I tend to be grumpy. That is something that I have a hard time figuring out exactly why, but it's something that tends to be the way I wake up, at least at this point in my life. And so when I first get up in the morning, even in my addiction, my first tendency was to start finding fault in things that other people were doing. Now, in my addiction, I would go with that emotion. I would run with that and really, as early as I woke up, start developing resentments against people for not doing what I thought they should do. In recovery, however, I have an awareness of that emotion. And I know that that emotion exists. I know that that's a tendency I have, but it's something that I choose not to engage with. And so when I wake up grumpy and I start thinking about, well, I wish my son would have done something different when he woke up this morning. I wish he wouldn't have woken me up this morning. I, in my recovery with awareness of thought, can instead separate myself from that thought and engage in a different thought, which is, I'm so grateful that I have a son, that he's healthy, that he loves me, that he smiles when he sees me this morning. And I can kind of chain together this endless series of things that I'm grateful about in the situation. And it's a different way of engaging with the world around me. But I have to be conscious of the fact that the grumpiness is there and that I don't want to engage with it before I can do any of that. And to me, that's what the principle of svadyaya is about. It's about spiritual study, not only of texts and of things like that, but also of ourselves and what we're feeling, what we do, and the way we engage in it. Once we start to be able to shift our perspective and start to get a better sense of how we want to relate to the world around us, that's when we can really dig into this particular principle, and we can start to shape our reality in ways that we never truly understood we could in our addiction. In my addiction, the only way I thought I could shape reality was by changing the chemical composition of my brain with drugs and alcohol. Now I get to do it with thought. Now I get to do it with emotion. And now I get to do it with action. And those are much more powerful than any drug or alcohol that I can find out there. And those are what I choose to use to change my perception for today and for the rest of my life. So this principle really encapsulates a lot of what we learn in the 12 steps and a lot of the goals of spiritual living in terms of not only studying texts that can help us improve ourselves, but studying ourselves in a way that can help us change the way we relate to the world around us. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.